Oh, we just had it there. Why did you take it off?
Thanks. Clear.
Amen.
So, good. So this evening, we are learning the Sicho, which has become very famous. It's considered a very important step in the annals of Lubavitch and the annals of the Rebbe's teaching. Parshas Shoftim, Tovshin Nun Aleph, and the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesset Tzedek, Be'ir Atika, Be'ir HaKodesh Tzvas. And tonight is early on Shishi Vov Elul, Vov Elul, Tovshin Ayin Tet. Has been our custom in recent weeks. I'll try to, the best of my ability, sum up in somewhat brief terms what we had at the earlier part of the Sicho, which we've already learnt a couple of years. And I'll try to get in more detail towards the middle and the siyum of the Sicho. So, basing himself on the tzivui at the beginning of the Parsha, where the Torah commands us, Shoftim v'shoitrim, titen lecho b'chol shorecha, and that's the mitzvah of minui Shoftim v'shoitrim in all your gateways. And Rashi learns that that's divided into two sections. Every shevet has to have a bezdin, which is miyuchet to that shevet, like a bezdin or kvartil in that shevet. And then you have to have in every city, in each shevet, you also have to have a bezdin. And so the Sefer HaChinuch, what the Rebbe brings us, says that this is a very basic pillar in the whole giving over of Yiddishkeit to the Jewish people, in the sense that you have to have a series of Mareches HaMishpat, whereby, as the Pasuk tells us in detail, whenever there'll be a argument or a lack of agreement between two Yidden, bein dam ladam and bein negel and negev, bein binyonim omenas, v'chulu, all of that, then the function of the bezdin is that there should be shoftim, and that those shoftim originally meant to be from the Kohanim, and they will instruct the Jewish people, befrat inyonim, which are not written openly in the Torah, and are based more on the inyan of the Torah shall be al peh, that they will give over, and that will be the medium through which the whole koyach of the Torah Shebaal Peh will express itself to the Jewish people. In other words, that the Bati Din and the Shoftim won't just be people who paskin a certain halacha benegir to a certain argument, but they will guide, and like it's brought by Richas in the Rambam and the great Rishonim, that the Beis Din Agodla the Sanhedrin, which is also included in this mitzvah, they used to go around on certain periods of the year, and all years they would go around, Shalom, all the cities in the whole Klal Yisrael, and they would look out to see what is going on. In other words, that they shouldn't wait until people will ask them or come to them asking what's going on, but they even have a mitzvah to go to the people and see what is needed. In other words, that the central medium of instruction to all the Jewish people, benegir to how one should behave, and through that the whole development of the Torah Shebaal Peh, benegir to the life of people and their interrelationships, etc. And for that matter, I suppose more broad moral issues, etc. All that was centered around the shofet asher b'yomim ha'hem. So the Rebbe says that we see, however, there's a difference between how we're told in the Torah and how we, based on a pasuk in Yeshaya Novi, every day we ask the Eibishter that we should go back to that situation where we will be under our own rule, under our own Melech HaMashiach, and we'll have the Shoftim looking after all the inyanim of the Jewish people. However, in the Torah it's written Shoftim v'Shotrim, you must have. And Yeshaya Hanovi, he brings a promise from the Abish that he's going to bring it all back. And it's written there, or Shiva Shotayich Kevar Rishoino v'Yoyatayich Kevat Chila. And instead of Shotrim, it mentions Yoyatayich, how do you call it? Your givers of Eta, how do you call it? Your
advisors.
Yeah, your instructors or your
advisors.
Advisor giver, right? Your advice giver. And in our davening every day, that's what we say. We say, how do we say it in davening? Shiva, what's the lesson? Not a Shiva. How do we say it in Shema Mesra?
Shiva Shoftim.
Huh?
Shiva Shoftim.
I can't hear what he says now.
Shiva Shoftim.
Shiva Shoftenu.
Yeah, Shoftenu. Kivar Shoinu v'Yotzenu Kivat Chila. We base ourselves on the Lashon of Yeshaya Hanovi, and that's our Bakosha 3 times a day. The Rebbe stresses that at least 3 times a day, a year, requests that of the Eibishter. So the question is, why does the Torah originally tell us that to be Shoftim v'Shotrim, and benegir to how we request from Hashem that all be given back, and that's going to be occur in the Gula Midas Vashlema, which it means that blessing in Shema Nesri also includes the Gula Midas Vashlema, because you can't have it all back until you have the complete control of the life of the Jewish people through the Beis HaMikdash, that's where the Sanhedrin was, and through the Melech, Klal Yisrael, that's the Melech HaMashiach. So, why is it that we have the difference that over there in the Torah Shotrim, and we mentioned Yoyatim? So the Rebbe says that if you examine carefully, you see that Shotrim are not an essential part of the mitzvah. Rashi says clearly that what do you need Shoftim for? That when the Shofet paskins, then if people don't want to be makabel or they're unhappy or they're hesitant to keep what the Shofet says, then the Shotrim, people who go around with, how do you call it, with a staff and a dus, and they give a shmiz to the people and they make sure that they will keep what the Shofet said. So the whole inner of the Shotrim is only a necessity when it's likely to be, how do you call it, lack of acceptance of the Shofet, then there's a necessity for Shoftim. But not that a Shoftim is an essential part of the mitzvah. The mitzvah is Shoftim. Yeah, they have to paskin the halach. The whole inner, the Shoftim is a necessity to strengthen and make full use what the Shofet said. Because if he says something but nobody obeys him, then that's lacking in the whole perfection of the mitzvah. So the whole inner, the Shoftim is only a necessity. But the Rebbe said that when Mashiach will come in the Gula Shlema, then there's no longer going to be any Yetzer Hara, and there's no longer going to be, how do you call it, lack of acceptance on the part of a Yid of anything to do with the Torah. Every Yid is going to be Sholem. B'Shleimus, B'Kiyum HaTorah, V'HaMitzvahs. You're not going to need Shoftim anymore. And the Rebbe said it's possible that even in the Doros Lifnei Moshiach, it's also possible to argue that you don't really need the Shoftim anymore, because things are going to develop so well that everybody will just receive automatically the Shofet through another nuance, and that's called Yoyatayah. That instead of going with the heavy-handed necessity of a Shoiter, we're going to come up with a new idea, and that's a Yoya. So there wasn't enough gemina between a Shofet and a Yoya. What is the difference between them? So the Rebbe said a Shofet is a man what he shalom ve'erah. He doesn't examine who he's got to do with necessarily in a basic necessity. What is the makeup of his life? He just paskins what the Torah says in a certain end. And because he's a kohen hashayir b'yomim oheim, in other words, he's very informed in all the dinim of the Torah, and therefore he just says what his great detailed knowledge shows him that that's the psach halacha, and you have to be makabel that k'mo gezerah b'kabbalah sel. Yeah, he told you, but it could be he's l'mayla mem for shalom ve'erach. He's a great person. He doesn't really have much to do with you. He just his job is just to say, in a case like this, then the Shulchan Aruch, but if we talk in our language, says kaf v'kaf. Yeah, that's the halacha. Or in the other matter, for that matter, in Eben Ezra and Erech Chaim and all those in Yonim, he paskins that that's the way it is. So he's mudal ve'erah, and also in the timing of what goes on, he's paskin. And when it actually happens that they will carry that, that's not his Indian. That's the Indian of the people concerned. You follow? So he's a mudal. Shofet is somebody that he's as it were withdrawn and mudal. However, a yoyet is not like that. A yoyet is somebody that he's a person that gives you an eitzah toiva. The whole idea of a yoyet is like the Gemara says, eitzah toiva komash malo. We've been taught here eitzah toiva. And a eitzah toiva is davke a yadid, b'derech klal, that he called somebody who's a friend, and he's devoted to your toiv, and he comes down to your level, and on the contrary, he can't give you a good eitzah unless he enters into your personal situation. So he goes into your personal life in a detailed way, and then knowing your problem, he gives you an answer. Although that's the exact opposite in a way of the Shevet. The Shevet's not interested in all that. The Shevet, he says what's gotta be. A Yoyetz is somebody, and that's how the Rebbe. So the Rebbe makes a difference between Kavah Rishona or Kavah Tchila. But that's a bit of an arikas advarim, and not so important for us here. Well, I mean, everything's important, but not so much to the flow of the argument we're trying to build up. And that is that the Rebbe says that in the later generations, the closer we get to the approach to the Gula Shlema, then we have this union of Yoyatzim, and they become important in the whole union of the Shoftim more than the Shotrim. And therefore, there's no mention in the prayers or in the Nevuah of Yeshaya, the union of the Shotrim. And as we pointed out, the Rebbe said that's not a part of the mitzvah. It's like a necessity that could arise. But if it's no longer applicable, then you have something else. What do you have? Something else. You have these yoyets. And what is a yoyet? A yoyet is somebody that he deals with your life in a personal way, and he gives you the right way to approach what may be not clear to you in any given situation. And the Rebbe says, by the way, that's the basis of the whole cloud, what the Rebbe spoke about it a couple of years before this, the whole Rav. The fact that you should have a Rav is the function of that Rav is to be like a Yoetz. His Indian is to instruct to you in your name, in the Torah, but according to your abilities and not to receive it, he gives it over to you in a way that it will make practical sense and have practical application to you. Well, that's a yoyet. So the Rebbe said it could be a situation where those are two separate, as it were, people. That you've got the shofet, and he's like the dayan on the bezdin, and so he paskins. And then in order to help everybody and to make it applicable, that's not his business. There's Elohim Shalom. But there's other people that are called Yoatim. Yeah, they could be a separate person, and they could go around assisting people who have problems with the Bezdin Pashkin. However, the Rebbe said that the more we get further as the history develops, then the Eibishter made it in such a way that you have people that they are both Shoftim and Yoetzim together. And that's the Indian of Hoshiva or Shiva, Shoftayik, Kavod Shoina, Veyoyeta, Chavat Chila. They're really one and the same person, you understand? And why are they written in Lashon Rabim? Shoftayik is Lashon Rabim, because they are like walking Rabims on 2 feet. Oh, you guys. They're like Rabims on 2 feet. They are able to make themselves available to anybody who shows up. They are, and they pashkin, and they know all the halachas for everybody, what's according to halacha for him. They also have the way of, listen, man, this and this is the way to go about it. And not only just in pure matters of what you might call halacha, pasuka, beneged to adin in Torah, but also to how you should conduct yourself in avodas Hashem. You know, how you should carry out your davening, how you should relate to other people. You know, if you got a problem in the family of relationships and so on. So he's also got a eitzah for that. And we see that the further we went, I see I'm a very good babysitter. I think maybe I'll take on a job as a babysitter, you know. I have everybody falling asleep, you know. It's, it is rather hot, yeah. Anyway, whatever is, it's a little bit disarming, but anyway, as so therefore the Rebbe says that you have people that they have become, they are Shoftim, but they're also Yoyatzim together. In other words, that they decide what you have to do, and that's based on all sorts of consideration of Torah and based on the correct halakhic approach to everything, how Yidden should approach everything according to the Torah. And then they also have the ability to enter into the lives of everybody and assist you how to do it, even down to the point of giving you detailed advice.
He said that's the Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe.
That's what I'm trying to do. Don't jump the gun. In the Babbage, everything goes with the Seder. Not just the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Rebbe said all the Rebbeim, all of them. And it's very interesting that the Alter Rebbe in Tanya has got a whole chapter called Beis, where he says he can't deal anymore with all these questions, and the Alter Rebbe complains about it very heavily. And yet the Rebbe says that we don't find that the Alter Rebbe stopped in history all of a sudden answering questions, And he writes that things in Parshas and things like that are only for Nevi'im. He said they're not for ordinary. And yet he still kept giving answers in Parshas even after he wrote them. So what do we do on that? That's important, because that moves us to the next stage and the next big development in the Sicho. And this is where we'll maybe come in, more or less at this point. And that is that the Rebbe says that these two concepts of Shofet and Yoetz and the union between them can be considered the two inyonim of Torah and Nevuah. Yeah. So what is that? Torah, the way you learn Torah and the way you study Torah, everything is like a very elevated gezerah. It's like telling you how you have to behave. All the Tariq mitzvahs are written in the Torah. Do this, do that. That's the way you got to do it. And many things that we know, the halacha, we learn from a diuk in a posik, and we have all sorts of inyonim in the Torah. Well, that explains to us, but it's all B'derech instruction as to how you should do it. It doesn't tell you how you're going to do it. Just tells you that you got to do it. Yeah, and so it's unchangeable, and that's the instruction. What is a novi? So a novi is also somebody that is divinely inspired. Yeah, the Rebbe goes into that in detail, and like the Alter Rebbe writes in Shara Yichud, Perek Beis, that a novi is somebody that he talks over. He is like a medium for the divine speech. The divine speech goes for him, and he's just like a holy medium for Hashem's communication to human being. As in Cain, he's also divinely inspired. So what's the difference between him and the Torah? The Novi says, listen, guys, this is not working out well. Something is not right. So what does the Novi do? He uses all sorts of answers as to how you should change it and how it should be the action, and how in different generations, different Nevi'im said different things, even though they were talking divinely inspired. But what was therein was to correct things in the shetach, in the area of action, to put everything right. That was the idea of a Novi. Of a Merkonto, he said, that's like the Shofet and the how do you call it, the Yoetz. The Shofet is the Torah, or somebody who paskins only according to Torah, and he tells you what's a din. And then the Yoetz is the Novi. He tells you how it should all be corrected on a massive way, and sometimes even more personal and very detailed instruction from the Navi how to make everything ready, Vasheta, that he should be able to carry out what the Torah wants. Yeah. And also he promises that if you do that, then things in the future will be good. Yeah. So that's another aspect of a Navi and also of a Yoyas. You've got to make the person feel good, and you've got to build him in such a way that he'll be able to face his future in a, how do you call it, optimistic, and he will be a kli to brocha. You know, he will get brocha min hashamayim. That's another function of the Navi. What that means, he looks into the future, and he also instructs the people listening to him as to how they're going to be a kli to a brocha. That's the Indian. So the Rebbe said that when it comes to Nebuah, there's a big discussion as to, you know, do we have Nevi'im or don't we? And are they only going to be renewed when Mashiach will come? Or there's a statement in the Gemara which says that after the Nevi'im Achreinim, then his butler, Hanavuah, Israel, and it will only come back again, and so on and so on. So on the basis of that, there are a lot of great authorities that learn that there's no Nebuah in the Zman HaGolus, only before Moshiach will come. So the Rebbe said that Enoch and Ami, before Moshiach will come, the Nebuah is going to reappear, but it's really been there the whole time. And what the Gemara meant by saying Nizbatlo, the word Nizbatlo is a very special word. It means it could be it's there, but it's just batil. It's not how do you call it, as functioning and as real as it's been in the past. Or it's not written Nishtalko or how do you call it, Halcho or something like that. It's not written words that would imply that the Nebuah has left us. You follow? It's just that it's sort of dormant for the time being. And therefore, the Rebbe makes an amazing diuk in the Rambam, and that is that if you look in the Rambam does not write this whole inyan that there's going to be a period amongst students where there's no Nebuah. The Rambam doesn't write the whole thing. And it's mashma from the Rambam that any time in history, if a person will fulfill all the necessary things that a Navi is supposed to have, and that's a lot of things, but if he fulfills all of it, he can be a Navi. And the Rambam even writes in a place that in his time there was a Navi. He believes that there was a person who was the Rambam himself writes it. And then he writes in the, how do you call it, Years Taman, a very famous letter towards the end of his life that he wrote to the Yidden in Taman. In the Years Taman, the Rambam says clearly that he used the expression over there that the Nebuah will return fully to the Jewish people, and that will be a heraldry, how do you call it, an announcement that Mashiach is coming. That if the whole inner Nebuah will appear, yeah, absolutely, before. So it's much more over there that he doesn't mean that in the meantime there's been no Nebuah. It's going to like return in the way it was at the time of the Nevi. There were a lot of Nevi'im, yes? And there was a lot of massive influence of Nebuah in the lives of the Jewish people. Well, that doesn't mean that. Therefore, there are a lot of people who want to say that there's no materials of a Navi until Mashiach will come. And there will be difference with that. The Rebbe says not right. There can be and there is. Yeah, Nebuah, even before. And he said, because the Rambam doesn't write the whole thing. The Rambam just writes what are the necessities of Nebuah. Would appear from that you can have a Navi anytime you want. And then what the Gemara says in his butler, or Nishtalki, or whatever the lotion is, doesn't mean that it's, it's gone. It just disappeared into a form of dormancy, but it's really there, and it can't be. Well, that's the error where we're holding. So on page 254, right down at the bottom. Oh, so he says, so all that we've said up till now is pretty much Boivin Klalit. We're talking a general way about the whole, it's not that page, it's page 254. He's got it? Yeah. What about him? He doesn't.
Yeah.
Right down at the bottom, right at the bottom. Uboivim proti, that means to say all that we've said up till now is like talking about Klal Yisrael, talking in a general way. He now says in a more specific way, Mavua b'sicha, in this particular sicha of the Rebbe, ki achonazu, this preparation for the coming of Mashiach, like the Rambam says, that the full return of the Nebuah is like a preparation, for Mashiach. So he says, "Achonazu nifelas b'emtzois inena Nebuah shenishchadish b'toras achronim." Now, what does the Rebbe mean, nishchadish? He pointed out that it never really left. So, what does it mean, nishchadish? It's like come back with its full, appearance, with a more, massive appearance. Shetoiga ninyan Nebuah, makbil le'inyan hayoyad. So he said the whole, like we said, it's at our time, and what's going to be the closest to Moshiach is that the Novi and the Yoyats are going to be parallel one to the other. They're going to be like the same thing. Sharaya Nebuah kol inyona she mislabeshes b'siklom v'hasagosam shel hanaviyim. The Alter Rebbe points out over there in Shara Yichud that a Novi, a real Novi, is somebody that he actually is masig what he's giving over. It enters into it, and it appears to him divinely, but he knows what he's got to say. Yeah. And therefore, he's not oiver. Let's say the Novi gave it over in a slightly different word than what he heard from him. He doesn't have any avail, because his whole Indian is to give over what he heard. If he doesn't give over what he heard, then he's got a very serious avail. But he has to give it over as he, as it were, also understands or appreciates that prat has got to go over in such and such a way, according to his seichel v'hasoga, which means that Nebuah is something that becomes a divine, inter-relationship between Hashem and the Novi, that Hashem talks to the Novi, and the Novi literally receives from Hashem, and he gives it over the way he received it. But he literally absorbs it in his seichel. That's what the Alter Rebbe says in Tana. So he says, Hainu, shezeh gilu eloki be'eret, to the Nevroim. It's a gilu eloki, but it's a gilu eloki according to the Nevroim. Yeah, but Mela, that's also the in of what we were talking about, Ayoyats. Ayoyats is somebody that he hasn't got the ability to do that. Yeah, therefore, the Nevi'im are like the Yoatzim, yeah? And he says, V'kak gam toiken ha-nevuah u'b'shaychas la'olam, yeah? Ein ha-novi oimed ela lo-haidiyam. Now, this is a lotion in the Rambam, that the Novi only stands up, ela lo-hodianu dvarim ha'asidim li'ois ba'olam. He comes to tell us things which are going to be in the world. In other words, he's in the world in the way it is now, and he's telling you what's going to happen. Yeah, of Omega, he's be'eret to the world, and he's going according to the way the world is. But he says it's going to develop certain things. Yeah, she'af ze moira she'inyan ha'nevuah shayad legidrei ha'olam. when you give over a nevuah, you're talking to the olam the way it is. You follow? But even pnimi, yeah, but don't really yoyed. In a pnimistic way, that's the in and of a yoyed. Shenoisen as I say so, but even a shayad, like gidre makabel hay. It's somebody who gives you an answer. If he gives you an answer for something beyond your ability to absorb, he hasn't given you an answer. So how does he give you an answer? By the fact that he enters your limitations in your situation. Of a mirror, that's the in another nevuah. And in that nevuah is different than Torah. Torah just paskins the way it is. Is Mamera Torah is like the big shofar. It's like a massive shofar. Yeah, the Novi, he's the Yohed. You follow? The Novi is the Yohed. So he says, over there, yeah, Mukolekes Nevuah mi Torah. Shatoira zu higile elakus badaga nailes, shaloi be'erach la'olam, bedugmas inyan ha-shoifet. Ha-shoifet, he passing it in a way that Lavdavgi, he's shy to that particular situation. Or he's shaloi be'erach, he's a big Talmud Chacham. He's withdrawn from the olam. But a yoya to somebody is called. So therefore, the klolos inyan of Nevuah has got to do with the idea of a yoya. You follow? So he says, "V'harei inyan hanavua shaya b'kol hazmanim." Now this is a very important point in the Rebbe's whole Torah. That the Rebbe says that you can have technically nevuah b'kol hazmanim. And what the Gemara says, nistalka, whatever the lashon was, I think it was nistalka, not nisbatla, nistalka. That the Gemara says that the nevuah is nistalka. That's only, like we said, that's gone into Hillam a bit. But the possibility is always there. And other people, they wanted to time it that it's gone altogether and that it'll only come back when Mashiach comes. And the Rebbe says that's not the case. Yeah, it says, Karamuchimikar, Shemevi Zos Arambam Besifrei, Yeshu Halochis Halochis. The Rambam brings the whole meaning of the fact that Nevuah is Shayak the whole time. The Rambam brings that Halochis Halochis, meaning that these are practical halachas that you need to know the whole time. Yeah, ubetnai, yeah, hashruas hanavua, yeah, shamoyna harambam, and all you need is the tanoim, yeah, how do you call it, the conditions for the dwelling of Nevuah that he reckons out over there. So there's all sorts of, how do you call it, things that are required of an Ovi. I'm not going into all that now. Yeah, ואין המסקה שיש זמן שבו לא תיתכן השרוס הנבואה. He doesn't say that what the Gemara said implies that you can't have Nevuah. Yeah, there's always possible Nevuah. Or Gemara is nistalka, slicha. The word is nistalka. Yeah, Ruach HaKodesh. Ain't a kavanah betayla Ruach HaKodesh lagamrei. אלא שנסתלקה מלמטה, משום שלא היה באיזו תקופה עוד אמר לקר. In other words, at that particular moment, there was nobody who was rawi to be a Navi. But if somebody will show up any old time, and he has the necessities to be a Navi, then he can be a Navi. The whole thing that the Gemara says, that the Nevuah has been nistalik, is only a purely practical and how do you call it, what's the word, empirical thing. It's, if there's nobody around who has the necessary thing, then nistalka. But if somebody will be raui, doesn't matter when it is, he can be a novi. V'yasera mikach, v'geras taiman, koisav harambam shanavuah takzo, koidem Mashiach. Not that Mashiach will bring the Nevuah, but there will be Nevuah koidem Mashiach, v'yachona la-Mashiach. It's a preparation for Mashiach. Not it will be brought by Mashiach. It will help prepare, Mashiach. Yeah, v'hatzius la-Neviim kekosav v'Parshas eino. that atzius means obedience. The obedience of listening to and paying attention to Nevi'im is a mitzvah. And we're told in the Parsha, Elov Tishmiyun, you must listen to a Novi, Zui Achona Lekabel Ba'im Pnimi, Esayiyud Ashiva Shoftaya Vioetaya. Well, that's a way, yeah. If there can be a Novi anytime, when there will be that Novi, you have to listen to him. If you have to listen to him, then that means you will do what he says. Well, that's preparing the way for Mashiach. And on the contrary, the Rebbe writes in a footnote, like I said, he writes over there that the Rambam not only says that it can be any time now, the end of the Nevuah the whole time, and that's a preparation for Mashiach. And he writes that in his time, the Rambam writes, in his time, there's a Novi. Yeah. So that's already hundreds of years ago. Yeah. The Rambam writes. Al Pizeh, Movan, Masha Marika, I know people walking out and they read. Am I not saying good or something? Yaakov walked out now, he's walked out. Yeah, I don't know, it's very hard to preserve a spirit of learning. It's very difficult,
We're here with you, Gafne.
Anyway, let's keep moving. So he says, V'al Pizeh Movan, Mashamari Karambam, but even Nevuas Moshe. There's another thing that the Rebbe notices, that Moshe Rabbeinu, he's called the Adon Kol HaNaviim. He's like the leader of all. And Moshe Rabbeinu was very different. That he was like the greatest Novi that's ever been. And he used to just get the Nevuahs, any moment, as it's well known. He could just any second get a Nevuah, and he always had to be ready with the whole, piece of Rashi over there in Parshas and the whole thing. So Moshe Rabbeinu he was on a very, very separate level in the inner Nevuah. However, the Rebbe says that we find that Moshe Rabbeinu, he was ready to receive the Nevuah, anytime. So the Rebbe says, if you look in the Rambam's Marik, a whole Rigas about the Nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu. And it would all appear from the way we have a partial approach to this whole union, that a Novi like Moshe Rabbeinu is not around anymore, and all the other Nevi'im are on a lower level. So if that's the case, why does the Rambam talk barikas about the Nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu, and he's a Seva Halacha? He's all in it, you got to know that. So the Rebbe said, what do you need to know? If he's like a Novi, that there's never going to be anybody like him. And at the end of the Torah, it's written that Lo Yikom Novi, Oid Moshe. Yeah, there's not going to be another Moshe Rabbeinu. But what do we need to know that for? So the Rebbe says, look, Maida Hava, meaning whatever this being has been. In other words, whatever's the past is the past. Yeah. And therefore says the Rebbe, Umano Gaya Kayom. What do we need to know all that for? That's what's written in the Torah, that there's never going to be another Novi like Moshe. That's never going to be. But on that level, which is the closest level of Moshe, there can be. Therefore, you need to know that, because there's going to be people that they're going to be very similar to Moshe Rabbeinu, in their whole way of giving over Nevuah, And so, therefore, it's very interesting that it was always customary by Chassidim to refer to a Rebbe, a Emes Rebbe, as Moshe Rabbeinu Shebadoya. They called him Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore we find that the Rambam writes in there was tshuva when they get to Moshiach. He says that Melech HaMoshiach yeh Novi Godel. He's going to be a great Novi. Yeah, K'moi Moshe Rabbeinu. K'moi. He doesn't say B'diuk like Moshe, but he says K'moi. So he's just under Moshe Rabbeinu. And so the Rebbe's got a whole thing about that in the intermediate for Nevuah, Mashiach will be a bit under Moshe Rabbeinu. Or in other things, he will be even greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah. So therefore, he says, it follows Lafizeh that the level of Moshe Rabbeinu is going to exist also in a way that it's going to be embodied in Melech HaMashiach himself. And so therefore, we need to know, the whole in him, that there'll probably be a lead up of that also prior to Melech HaMashiach. So he says, and therefore that's hidden in the instruction.
I have a question.
He doesn't hear what I say.
What's the question? I was trying to get it to him. He was on money around the day.
Oh, the question is when it says Kemo, it cannot be higher, it has to be.
So I can't hear.
The Russian is quarter of the nation. He's asking more.
You said
Kamoi is like Moshe. Kamoi could be almost, why does he say Kamoi means under? The Russian is quarter of the nation. The Russian is quarter of the nation.
Korov Moshe is Kamo Moshe?
Yeah. They use the expression Korev Moshe Rabbeinu. You're right. Not Kamoi, but Korev, yeah.
Okay.
That's the
You said
expression the
Kemo, I don't
Rambam uses.
understand why
He says
Kemo can be
Korev
higher or lower.
the Moshe Rabbeinu, which means he's a little bit under, but he's in the same general category. You follow?
But not Kemo.
Yeah.
Kemo
Yeah.
can be up or down.
Yeah. He used it, you're right, the Rambam actually used the expression Karov. It's just that it's hard for me to remember every lesson. There's so many Lashonas going around it. Oh, but that's right. Yeah, you're right about that. So therefore, he says, because man, Novi Kamoi Maisha. And therefore, if we look carefully in the Torah, we see that Novi Mikera Vachika Komoicho. Of Amela, the Abishah says he's going to bring Nevi'im to the Jewish people like you, and he's talking to Moshe Rabbeinu, is a sign that it is possible in the whole future of the Jewish people that there'll be somebody that's Kamoicha. So Eino Hanami, the Rambam used the expression Kitzat underneath, Karol, I'll put him in the same general classification. Yeah, Umavaya Ha'ora 83, Shemasha Nema V'loi Kom Novi Yoid B'Yisrael Kamosha, Hu Akvarak B'Negel Laprat Shel Yodu Hashem Ponim Al Ponim, that Hashem spoke to him every moment like face to face. Yeah, Shahoy Etzum Moshe Rabbeinu, Shezeh Lo Yochel Li Yishuv Etzum Novi Acher. Well, that's like intimate relationship between Hashem and Moshe Rabbeinu, that any moment Hashem could speak to him like intimately, one face to the other. Well, that is never going to occur again. Over the same type of Nevuah and the same level and massivity of Nevuah by Moshe Rabbeinu, that can exist. Therefore, the Rebbe puts it right that at the end of the Torah it says it's never going to be a moya. So what? How come it writes I'm going to make kamoicha? You follow? So the Rebbe says in that prat, and Bamela Lefizeh will also be good what the Rambam writes, like we said, karov, karov l'Moshe Rabbeinu. You'll be in the same general massivity of the actual Nebuah. You just want to have this milah upon him, with this intimate appearance the whole time, any time, that he's not going to have. So therefore he says, Yoda Hashem Ponim, Vashoya Eitzel Moshe Rabbeinu, Shezeh Lo Yichol Yeshuv Eitzel Novi Acher, Akpanegel Dagas Nevuah, Ochin Yochel Yesh Kamoisha. The actual daga of the Nevuah itself the intimacy and the interrelationship with Hashem, that's never going to reoccur. Over the type of nevuah in it, that's a madriga, that could reoccur. He said, "V'dova zeh yiskayim koydem biyas hamakiah." Yeah, he said, "But Mashiach atzmai kehachona legeula." So he says that Mashiach is going to come before the actual Geula. There'll be in Mashiach already the embodiment of Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah. Just it won't be that exactly the same level like it was by Moshe, but the same darga in nevuah will be in Melech HaMashiach, and then he will become Melech HaMashiach al-Klal. Yeah. So you can see the argument that he's gradually working towards. So he says, "Al piko zeh mavua mashanem aliyel shayom nimtzoim onu yekva betchilas kiyum hayiyud shaloshiva shoftaya." So the Rebbe said that what we pray every time in the name of every day, 3 times a day, in the name of Yeshaya, it should give us back. Yeah, Hoshiva Shoftai Kavorishayna. It's already beginning to be Makuyam. Yeah, it's already starting off and beginning to be Makuyam. So he says, in the light of everything we've said, then it makes sense why. So he says, Ka'omer Klam Musik Shal Shoitrim Kosher Be'etem or Matzav Shlili Sheboy Am Yisrael Eneno Oiches B'Darga Shokiyim HaMitzvahs Mirotzen V'Yestor B'Kavir. Like we said before, when you get to Shoitrim. So Zehu Matzav V'Naveh Mikosher Kagolas Aruknis. Therefore somebody might want to do what the Shoifet said. Kayom כשאנו נמצאים לאחר כל העבודה במשך כל הדורות. ממילא מצב זה של חושך הוא כבר במידה פחוסה ביותר. The Rebbe said Yidden are much more ready to be makabel nowadays than what they might have been in previous generations, when even though in previous generations there might have been certain great milers in the Ruknias compared to today. But the mile of today is that all that's been done, all the generations, and all the unbelievable efforts of the Jewish people, and particularly the Rebbeim, in spreading Yiddishkeit, well, that's all built up, and all that's all come to the point that we're at a very, very high, adequate level of perfection, that everything that was undertaken by the Navi, undertaken by the, that people are much more ready nowadays to hear what the Shofar tells them. Yeah, that's a chiddush. Yeah, a big chiddush. That there's really a much greater readiness nowadays to be makabel what the Shofar said. Yeah, I've sort of lost the ability to hear my voice. Can people hear me? Yeah.
Yes, can.
Right. It's very strange. It all of a sudden cuts off. Yeah. I just can't hear myself. Yeah. So anyway, it follows what he said, that he says that's one reason why we're holding very close. Yeah. There's an old marshal brought by Yidden that it's like an ant on top of a huge pile of a tremendous amount of good things. And the ant is only an ant, but he's sitting on top of a very powerful pile. And so even though he's only an ant, but he's got all the tremendous milers of the pile that is sitting. So that's like us. We're sitting on the mound of all the great things that have been done over all the generations. So we're sitting on top of that. We're only ants, although we got all the backup of all the previous generations. And therefore, we are ready for the Shoifet, and we don't need a Shoitrim, but we need a Shoifet that is also a Yoyat. And if it goes that way, then we're ready. Another reason is Alidei Rabbi Shein and Nesayenu. And here's the Rebbe's way, making a very strong policy statement. He said, "Darky through our Rebbeim, the ending of the Nebuah came back. Like he said, it never really left. There was a period when it was dormant, maybe. Yeah, there was still Nevi'im, but it was like dormant. He said the Nebuah, Chosra Israel, means that it came back in an active way, and it's become a very important general factor by Yidden, again, through the Rebbeim, yeah, through the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov. I don't know if he's going to bring it here, but in a footnote over there, the Rebbe brings down that the Tzemach, it's written in the Sefer Chakira of the Tzemach, that he's got a big piece there where he says about the Baal Shem Tov, that he says the Baal Shem Tov was a Novi God. That's what he writes there. And he said the Baal Shem Tov was the reappearance of the full status of the Nebuah to the Jewish people. And the Tzedek writes over there that also that the Nebuah never left the Jewish people completely, but it was like I'm saying, dormant. And now the Baal Shem Tov was the opener of the whole new Tzimach, or through this Tzimach it's going to be revealed in the Nebuah. And so therefore the Magi was also a Novi. As I described Tzemach Tzedek over there. If you look it up, you'll see that Tzemach Tzedek was not only the Baal Shem Tov, but the Magi. So who was the Talmud of the Magi? The Alter Rebbe. So, you know, the Rebbe also writes in the Sicho that if a Novi says about another person that he's a Novi, you have to be Makabala. So probably the Baal Shem Tov said about the Magi that he was a Novi, and the Magi said about the Alter Rebbe that he was a. So they're Nevi'im.
They say the Jose of Lublin was the same Madriga as Shmuel Hanovi, except he did not have the permission to use the words Ko Amar Hashem.
Yeah.
Why do these Nevi'im not have permission to say Ko Amar Hashem?
You see, and that's why he was called the Choizer here. Choizer is Lashon Riyah, but it's not Riyah Kipshutei, it's like Riyah Ruk, it's Chizayon. But that's in another, and he was called the Choser Melubin, because he was on the Madriga of Nebuah. And that was, it's mashma over there in the Tzemach Tzedek that many of the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov were holding by that. Of our Rebbeim, for sure. That's what the Rebbe said. Over Mela, the Rebbe says, well, that's why we call them, how do you call it? Rabbi Seinu Nishiainu. So he said, a Nasi is somebody who's low be'era. A Nasi is from Lashon elevation. A Nasi is somebody who's absolutely low be'era. That's the Shoifet. Over the Yoyat, that's the Rabbi Seinu. A Rab is somebody he teaches you and he deals with you personally and instructs you. So that's the two levels. And that's why it's a custom. It became a fixed Hoga in the Bab to refer to our Rabbi as Nesienu Rabbi Seinu Nesienu. And the Rebbe said those two Lishonas are indicatory of the, So he said, Rabbi Seinu Shemalabdim Torah Kol Ha'am. Two Nesienu Shehem Lo Be'erach Nailim V'Nisi'im HaMe'am. שבייס פרטים אלו הם שופטאיה, ועם זאת הם משמשים כיועצים. In other words, really, the Nesienu is before the Rabbi Seinu. The Nesienu is the Shoftim, and the Rabbi Seinu is the Yoeltim. Of Amela, they embody in themselves both in Yom. And therefore they were both Shoftim and Nevi'im, because the Novi is the Yoel. So therefore he says, the third thing is why we're approaching the fulfillment of this whole thing is Alidei Galas Silas Chabad. So the Rebbe says the whole inner of Chabad is Pnimis HaTorah. So in order to sum up and appreciate the whole greatness of a Novi and how he's been reinstated in the full status of Nebuah, and he combines in himself both Shoivet and Yoyet, you have to have Pnimis HaTorah, you have to have a deeper way of appreciating and a deeper way of summing up all the inyonim. And if you learn Pnimis HaTorah, then you're able to, how do you call it, recognize all these necessary, as it were, facts. When you get to genuine leaders of the Jewish people, of Amela, you're like preparing yourself for the Gilui of Mashiach. And Befrat, that it's well known that the Etzem revelation of Pnimis HaTorah without Nebuah is a preparation for the coming of Mashiach. So he says that the day is Galas Chassidus Chabad, Shinyonahu Lohovi Lidei Kar, Shahoiroas HaTorah Yishkablu B'Sekel HaOdam B'Yim Pnimi, Yishadzehu Ka'omo Inyan HaYoyatim, Shiur Liyosid Lovei, Shinyone HaTorah Yaktaru B'Pnimius HaOdam. And how is that? Through the Inyan Pnimis HaTorah. ובהדגושה יסיירה בדורנו זה, שישנה השלימוס בהחוצה מן הסוף החוצה. That we see in our time, the Chassidus and the Pnimis HaTorah, it just spread everywhere, all over. Yeah, Hafotza is Pnimis HaTorah, B'kol Katzvei Torah, everywhere. Bati Chabad all over the world. And the Rebbe brings down that he spoke in a previous year that we learned about Braille. The Rebbe said even blind people are now learning Tzedek, Alidei Braille. So the Rebbe says that the most, how do you call it, perfect and full Indian of Hafotza has been achieved. As in Cain, everybody through that knowledge of Pnimis HaTorah is able to appreciate how Rabbi Sain and Nessi, how these like a union of the Shoivet and the Yoyets together, and that's the forerunner, to the Inyan of Mashiach. Plus the fact that it was always there, the possibility, and that's what the Rambam writes, that in his time there was a Novi. It's always been a possibility. They brought it back, our Rebbeim, they brought it back in a full and complete form to all the Jewish people. And therefore, just by the way, it's of interest that after the Astogas of the Rebbetzin in Tov Reish Mem Ches, the Rebbe made the famous statement that it's impossible to keep up with all the questions of people. You know the whole story, the famous Sicho that the Rebbe made. And he said it's Makatza Yom of Shel Odom. If you keep hammering somebody with questions, it's not really his Indian to deal with that and everything. The whole Sicho from the Rebbe. And yet, nonetheless, just like he said about the Alter Rebbe, we don't find the Rebbe stopped answering these questions. He just said that he wants to be Meicher. That shouldn't really be the case. Or we still continue. And Mamela, we see from that what the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya, that only Nevi'im are able to deal with such things. That's what our Rebbeim were able to deal with. You know? They were able to deal with it. Yeah, why? Because they were Madregas Navi. Okay, so then the Rebbe goes on to say that the big preparation for that was what the Friedrich said, that everything has been prepared and we've already polished the buttons and we're already ready for the parade of Melech HaMashiach. So the Rebbe said it's only left to shout out now, Ad Matai. Yeah. The Rebbe says it at the end of the thing. Yeah. The Rebbe says Ad Matai. Since all this has been achieved, what's going on? Ad Matai. Avamela, Hashem should help. That's the That's the implication. Of a Kumta is that we have, and I forgot to mention, the Rebbe brings down what the Rambam says, that if one Novi says about another person that he's a Novi, then he's a Novi. And so the Rebbe writes, but Doreinu said, yeah, we have a person that the Friedrich Rebbe said about him that he's a Novi. Almost openly, the Rebbe says about himself, Kimat Bora, lo. He said, but Doreinu there. What does Doreinu say? He said, we have somebody that the Friedrich Rebbe said about him, he's a Novi. No, that's a Rebbe. Avamela Hashem Shalom. That it all be Bapel Mami Shabbat. I just find it a little difficult when I'm teaching people and they just get up and walk out. I find that a little, how do you call it, unbalancing. I'm only human, what can I do? It's, you know, I put so much into it and I wanted to, you know, people just get up and walk off. Anyway, whatever. That's all part of the got something to write. Gabriel. Vince's not around. It's a whole library.
Bensie's not here tonight, correct? Not?
Well, we'll get somebody else.
Well, I have a car, but
He's not coming, Vince.
Okay, I have a car.
No, he will be available about 10:10.
I could get you there. I could get you there.
Okay, and I'll take him back.
Okay, I'll get you. You know where he lives?
Well, who lives?
We need to get to Amazon.
Okay, so I will take us and Rabbi Marcel.
Okay,
We'll save the time now. Yeah.
I can take, I have a car, I'll take the four of us, and then I'll leave. Benji can come after. I understand Benji can always come after.
You can't come.
You wanna go anyway to see you? I will go and drop you off and